Lisa. I'm the Barefoot Pampered Chef, and today I'm going to do a recipe that most people are a little afraid of. But if you master this recipe, and I'll teach you how, it's actually very, very simple, and you'll look like a rock star to kids and anyone. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make cocoa meringue shells that you can kind of stuff with anything. So a meringue is mainly a whipped egg white and sugar that you bake, and it's kind of a crunchy texture to it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a few different tips and tricks that will help you with any recipe so anyone can be a cook. So what we're going to do first is I took my recipe and I wrote it down, and I wrote little notes on it, you know, what I need to do in which place. You can either do that or you can have your recipe in front of you, but I would suggest reading it through a few times before you start to do it, because then you make sure you have everything. The next step, stay calm. Just stay calm. If you mess up this recipe, really, you're only wasting a couple bucks worth of product. It's not a big deal. And you can go out to dinner. So the next thing is we're going to put all of our stuff in place. We're going to have a mise en place. So that not only means your ingredients in place, but it means all of the equipment that you need to make a recipe in place. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to preset our oven to 275 degrees. This recipe is low and slow. The next thing that we're going to do is I have my Pampered Chef cutting board here, or cookie sheet here, and I have a piece of parchment paper. Now on one side of that parchment paper, I've drawn with a Sharpie marker 6 fairly equal circles. I just free-handed them, as you can tell, and we're going to put that marker side down onto our cookie sheet, because we're going to use the other side of it that you can see through to use as a direction as to how to make our shells. So that's right there. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, don't fret. Go get a large Ziploc baggie and you can do exactly the same thing. You don't even need a piping tip for this recipe. It'll just make it a little bit easier. So if you're using a Ziploc baggie, you're going to do everything that I do, except you're not going to cut the hole in the tip until you get ready to start piping. So what I've already done with my piping bag is I cut a 1-inch hole, or a half-an-inch hole in the tip, and I passed my piping tip into the bag. One tip that I have learned is that if you take right at the piping tip and twist a little bit, and you shove that in and just kind of pinch it there, that will help anything from falling out until you're ready to start piping. So we're going to put that tip and drop it down into a big, tall cup with a wide mouth, and we're just going to pull our edges back over top of that lid and kind of open it up inside so you have a nice cavity to put your meringue in, and you're not having trouble holding the bag and trying to get the stuff in. The next thing that we're going to do is make sure that we have a hand mixer or a stand mixer, because unless you have muscles like, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're not going to sit here and whip this up, and you want to make sure you have your mixing bowl. For our ingredients, what we're going to use is 1.5 teaspoons of raspberry vinegar. I'm using a raspberry balsamic vinegar, and 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch. You're going to put those in a bowl, whip them up a little bit with just a whisk, and set that aside. We're going to use that in a second. You need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and we're going to take 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and we're going to put them into our flour sifter. So this is the flour sifter. It comes with this nice little lid. We're going to open this up, and you can see I've already made a few batches today. We're going to pop this mesh off, and we're going to put in our cocoa powder. I would do this over the sink if you don't, your bowl's, you know, a little big. And then we're going to close this back up. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to add our cocoa powder without adding any lumps, because we're going to add the cocoa powder towards the end. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 eggs, and I'm going to get the egg whites. So I just gently crack the eggs like I'm cracking an egg in anything. But instead of just opening it up this way, I'm going to open it up kind of upside down so that my yolk stays in, but my white falls out. And then what I do is I just pass that yolk gently back in between the eggshells until I get all the white out. So we're going to do that with 2 more eggs. And as you can see, I'm calm. If I make a mistake, it's okay. It's just an egg. That's the whole thing of cooking, is if you stay calm and relaxed, most of the time, everything will turn out just okay. Get all of that white out of there. Just be patient with a little egg. Sometimes you need to help it along. That looks pretty good. Just going to wipe my hands off here. Now this is the point in the recipe where everyone gets a little nervous. You're going to be whipping this egg mixture to certain states. And so along the way I'm going to talk to you and tell you about which states that you're going to whip your egg to. So the very first thing we're going to do is we just have the egg whites in the bowl. We're going to whip them until they're frothy. So that's going to take about 20 seconds. So I'm going to put this on high. And as you can see, they're starting to get a little bit frothy right now. And you can just whip them until they're a nice kind of frothy mixture here. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our 1½ teaspoons of balsamic vinegar and 1½ teaspoon of cornstarch mixture. And I'm just going to scrape this in and add it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to whip our mixture until it forms soft peaks. Now what a peak is when I pull out my hand mixer, the stuff is going to make almost a little mountain. If the peaks are nice and crisp on that mountain, you're at a hard peak stage. If they kind of come up but fall over a little bit, you're at a soft peak stage. And if the mountains just rise out of the ground and then fall flat back down, you're not at a peak yet. So this takes just a little while. We're going to be on high. And I'll show you a couple of different stages if I can. So it's getting a little thicker. So if I turn it off now, you'll notice that my peaks rise and disappear. They don't come up and stay up. So I have to go longer. You're probably going to be about maybe 2 to 3 minutes on this stage, maybe a little less. I can tell it's getting a little thicker. So I'll show you the difference. This is a soft peak stage. Hopefully you can see that when I pull up, the peaks kind of stay. I might have to go just a little bit farther because they're just going back down a little bit. And that's good. So now this next step is very important that we go slowly. What you're going to do is you're going to take your sugar and you're going to stream it in. We're not going to dump it all in all at one time. That's going to ruin your mixture. So we're just going to turn on our mixer and just slowly add this. So just bear with me. It takes a little while, but it's definitely worth it. See how I'm just barely putting a little bit in at a time? But I'm just kind of keeping a slow and steady stream into the bowl. You're going to notice that your mixture is getting a little bit more glossy. It's almost taking on the appearance of photo paper. We're going to add all of and once all the sugar is added, we're going to go to the hard peak stage. Almost. So we're going to make sure that sugar is nice and incorporated. And I'm going to show you here, if I take these out, my peaks stand up completely. So this is hard peak stage. So I'm just going to turn these on for a second. Woo! All over the kitchen. So I'm going to bounce these into my prep sink so I can clean those later. And now the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to take that cocoa powder that we put into our sifter, and we're just going to sift it over top. Like I said, this is going to keep out any of the clumps. You just want to make sure you get all of it in there. And we're going to take our mix-and scraper, and we're going to very gently fold this. We are not going to mix it. We are going to take the scraper around the edge of the bowl very gently, and we are going to fold it over. So what I do is I fold and pull. Scrape and fold and pull. And you just keep doing this very lovingly. It'll take some time until all of that cocoa powder is incorporated into your egg whites. But you are not crushing the egg whites down into oblivion. You are being very nice to them, because they are going to make you a very, very nice dish. You have to be nice to your food. Almost incorporated. Like I said, it does take just a little while, but you just want to go very softly and fold it all in. So now it's all incorporated. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my cup with my piping bag or my Ziploc baggie in it. And I'm just going to push all of this stuff into it. So that's why you want the really nice wide mouth on that. If you get to the point where you kind of have an air pocket, just tap it down. And you want to get all this mixture out of here. And then while we were talking, my parchment paper ran away. So I'm going to put that bad boy back on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the edges up on my piping bag. And I'm going to gather it together. And I'm going to hold that between my thumb and my forefinger and pinch it fairly hard so stuff doesn't come back out this side. And what I'm going to use to push is the palm of my hand and this hand. So I'm going to untwist the bottom that I had twisted already. And I'm going to force that down until it gets into the tip. Now what I'm going to do is I want to show you how to pipe these. Now you can play with these and make them any way. I'll show you, I made some small ones earlier. So what you want to start with is to make the big shells. You want to start piping right in the middle of your circle. I'm going to try to do this one-handed so I can hold this down. And you're going to make a swirl. And just keep swirling it around. Make sure your edges of your lines touch each other. Pretty nice, about a ½ an inch thick, until you get to the edge of your circle. And then you're just going to pick up. Now, to do the edges, you can either do little dots and make it look nice and little you know, pretty decoration on there. Or I'll make another one here and I'll show you what you can do with an edge. Make a simple edge. So start in the center, swirl outwards towards the edges while you're pushing with your hand. And usually I use my other hand on the bag, but my parchment paper isn't sticking very well, but now it is. And then if you want to just make a simple edge, just go back on top of your edge and pipe another little line. So I'm going to put this down, but this batch will make at least 6 of these big ones, and it will make quite a few small ones. So I'll show you how the small ones look. And then how we're going to cook these is we're going to put them in our oven at 275 degrees for 1 hour. So it's pretty low and slow. When that 1 hour is over, I want you to turn off the oven, prop the oven door open just a little bit, and let them sit for another hour until they cool and dry. When they're done cooling and drying, what you'll get is this. These cute little shells that are hard and crispy that you can serve whatever you want on. So today, I'm going to show you how to serve them with a little bit of whipped cream and raspberry. So this is my Pampered Chef whipped cream maker. What I have added to this is 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, a tablespoon of powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I just sit there and do this for about 30 seconds until it feels nice and thick. And then what you do is open it up and you have amazing whipped cream. Sorry, it's just really yummy. And we're going to take one of these tarts and we're going to add a dollop of this whipped cream in the middle of it. You can add more than that to make it look pretty. And I'm going to add some raspberries. Woo! Raspberry running away. And in the end, you get a really pretty dessert that kind of looks like that. And you can also put a little sprig of mint on it, and your friends will be amazed. You can fill these with whatever you want. You can fill them with cheesecake filling. You can fill them with ice cream, put the ice cream on top of them and let it melt into it. And they're just nice, crispy, crunchy little snacks to put little things on. These little tiny ones, I can fit about a tablespoon of the whipped cream and 1 raspberry on. So they're really nice, amuse-bouche, which is a pleasure for your mouth. You can find all of this information on www.pamperedchef.biz/Lisa Wright, LISAWRIGHT. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at #BarefootPC. And you can also find me on YouTube at the Barefoot Pampered Chef. Thanks. Have a great day.